All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin. We've got the boys back. I know there's no matches, there's no reviews, previews going on, which is quite depressing, but it is what it is. I mean, international break, some of the players are getting a bit of rest. Some of the players are actually getting zero rest, so that's the other thing. But I'm glad to have my boys back and do this particular show, which is going to be very interesting for all you guys. We've got Nischal back, but I'm a bit weary about his Wi-Fi. Let's see if it's going all right. Nischal, my man, how you doing?
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. My Wi-Fi's been woeful. I don't know if it's going to work for the stream.
It's back. At least you're able to talk and we can hear you, which is fantastic. Hopefully it stays like that. Before we introduce the topic, some of the boys, let's say hello to them. It's been a while. Johnathan, you're growing your hair. It's growing crazy. You're looking like one of those South American players with a hairband on, ready to just jump onto the field. How you doing?
Well, Taron said Jack Grealish. I got called Erling Haaland in the street the other day. So as I said just before we went live, I'm bringing Erling Haaland to you because Roman Abramovich hasn't done it yet. So yeah, I'm all good, and I'm here to ready to talk about Tuchel in formations, which is a topic I like to explore. So yeah, I'm all good.
Brilliant. As soon as I thought about this particular topic, I was like, nah, I got to have Johnathan, man. He buzzes about these sort of things, and all you boys anyway. Charles Williams, all the way from South Africa. Don't mind staying up late for some content. Thank you so much, Charles, honestly. Taron, my boy, how you doing?
I've actually I've really missed being on the channel for the last week. Honestly, the reviews are such an enjoyable part of my week. And yeah, I'm really happy to be on with Johnathan, Nischal. Yeah, the fantastic fours, we like to call it. It's a great link up all the time on the streams. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into this particular stream. I've got some interesting stuff to say. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of break down Tuchel's lineups and kind of see what we need to improve.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Taron, for taking out the time. Manny H, thanks, my man, for joining. Can't wait, man. Love this channel. Thank you heaps for that. We've got also, once again, Erling Haaland seems to be enjoying this particular channel a lot. Chelsea need me. Look, Erling, we've said it many times in this channel. We badly need you, but it's really up to you, Erling, what you're going to do with the contract situation. Nischal, my man, how you doing? Oh, no.
I just heard him typing. I thought he was in there.
Yeah.
And he was moving. Oh.
Nischal, you there? I think we've lost Nischal again.
Yeah, I don't hear me, but sorry to everyone watching. And
yeah, very, very good luck. I'm just reading the comments now, to be fair. This is a good one. Topic is going to be interesting. Yeah, he's going to struggle with this audio, isn't he?
He's going to struggle. You know what? Yeah, I'm just going to... Yeah, he's removed himself anyway. Let's, before we introduce, just quickly, shout out to 11 so far that's joined in, and I'm sure there'll be more joining throughout the stream and watch it down the track. Thank you so much for your support. Gaurav Pantaka, this topic is going to be very interesting. Look forward 100%. And we've got Tete, good luck getting into Tuchel's mind, of course. Let's get straight into this. Johnathan, I thought, so just the introduction to this particular topic, we're going to look at the four main sort of formations, more or less. Whether Tuchel uses or not, that's a different story. But we're going to look at four different formations, and we're going to try and create the best 11 from the players that we already have in these particular four formations. And then each of these formations, we'll see where we need to upgrade, where do we need to get a transfer in to bolster that squad a little bit, where is the weakness and whatnot, and see if we can, find the best solution for those particular formations. So I'll start with you. Basically, what we're going to do, to give a heads up to Taron as well, we'll look at a particular formation. I'll go with Johnathan for this one. I may go to you the next one. But as soon as I'm done with Johnathan going through the particular formation, we'll obviously come to you, Taron, and get your thoughts on whether you think that's the best one for that formation. And then we'll lock something up, and then we'll explore what transfer needs to happen. Let's get straight into it. Johnathan, first of all, look, it's the one that we always play at the moment, which is three at the back, and the wing backs, the double sixes, and then three up front. So if we were to create the best sort of Chelsea 11 out of this, let's crack into it. Obviously, you'd have Mendy in goalkeeping position.
100%.
And he, as we all know, Aspi. Do you have Andres Christensen or Thiago Silva?
Oh, this is an interesting one because I know Christensen's been fantastic lately, but you've got to put Silva in the middle because that's where he's strong. As much as I would like to see Christensen and Rudiger, look, Rudiger has been fantastic since he's been in the team. I've not been his biggest fan for the last few years, but again, he's just been superb. And I feel like Azpilicueta will play a lot because, you know, Tuchel's talked about his captain's presence. So, yeah, unfortunately, Christensen at the moment, he'd be very, very close, but this would probably be the three I'd go with, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be so difficult to drop Silva and his leadership quality as well. Completely respect what Andres Christensen has done, but I think if we're being honest, this is probably the best back three at the moment.
Yeah, when fit, definitely.
Backs.
This is a tricky one because Hudson-Odoi he had quite a few nice early games under Tuchel, and we saw him revitalise. James has come in and done well at times. So it's a real toss-up. It depends, again, whether we want to be more attacking or defensive. But I want to be more attacking. I want to shift around the players in the attacking position. So I'm going to go Hudson-Odoi. But that's nothing away from James. It's purely because I want to get as many attacking players in this team as possible. And again...
fair point. Yeah,
some people would probably disagree with this as well because... You know, he's not the best left back or our best full back. But again, Alonso is just so effective in the left wing back position.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm a person which has an attacking mentality. I like us to attack at every opportunity. So having these two fullbacks gives us so much going forward. Someone like Alonso is going to join into attacks, get into the box, the occasional cross. Hudson-Odoi is going to take men on and put the ball into the box. So yeah, I think it's a perfect blend, this back five.
I have to agree. I cannot deny. I mean, as good as Chilwell has been and as good as Reece James has been, we can't deny the fact that, as you said, Alonso has those clutch goals and he's always going to be there around these sort of areas in the box. And Callum Hudson-Odoi with his ability to be 1v1, and he really plays as a right winger. To be honest, that right wing back is a bit of a false right wing back. Is really like at the end of the day, a false right wing position. To be honest. This is where it's going to get very interesting, Jonathan, the middle, because Jorginho, Kovacic, or Kante, Kovacic, or Jorginho and Kante. How are you going with this in regards to the best possible double six for us?
It's difficult because under previous managers and even under Tuchel, we've seen a lot of combinations. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't, you know. But I think just the fact that Kante is so good when he plays in a double pivot in a role that he has been playing the last few games, you can't leave him on the bench. He's world class in that position. So purely for that alone, Kante has to go in the team. So I'd certainly put one of them in Kante. And again, love Kovacic, but Jorginho in this Tuchel system, people call Jorginho a system player, but the way he's played the last couple of months and since the turn of the year, he has been, pretty formidable. So again, with his passing, with the control he brings, the fact that he controls the tempo, I've got to put Jorginho here. And again,
I think this is probably the one that I'd have to disagree with you, Jonathan, in the sense that 100% understand about Jorginho and what he has done, and I respect everything that Jorginho has done. But I've been very impressed with Kovacic, Kante pivot in the last few games, especially against Atletico Madrid. They were very, very good. And I think if they can continue like that, if Kante can maintain his form like that, and Kovacic seems to understand now when Kante is on the field what his role is. He still drives, but the three at the back really protects both of them. Since we've got different opinion on this, I want to bring Taron in. Taron, what's your thoughts on Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic, or Kovacic, Kante?
For me, I agree with you, Miz. I think I'll go with Kovacic in that position. I do really appreciate what Jorginho does for this system, but in terms of the two players, I back in every game for their versatility, the way they can kind of rotate. One goes forward, one kind of defends and destroys. Then I'd say that's the best pivot. Jorginho, no disrespect to him, I think he's a great player and he's great in keeping the clock ticking. He's great at transitioning from defence to attack, releasing the pressure. But yeah, Kovacic and Kante, they can both do everything. I think that Jorginho maybe has that positional awareness, that kind of player that can kind of be the metronome. But yeah, for me, I'll go Kovacic and Kante.
I think,
I get that.
There, but yeah.
completely get that. They have been really good, and I love Kovacic, as I said. To the fact that I'm now putting Jorginho in the team when 6 months ago I would have struggled to put him in any lineup that I would have brought up. So I just think because Kovacic and Kante can get drawn to the ball, they aren't generally someone that sit, and Jorginho is a lot more disciplined. So I just feel like in a system where I've got two really attacking left and right backs, having Jorginho who also kind of sits as a sweeper sometimes when we're defending, he comes and gets the ball, something that Kovacic and Kante don't do. So I just felt for the balance, Jorginho would just be, he also just keeps the ball ticking along, and when he's not playing, we do miss him, I'd say, in this Tuchel system right now. But again, in the future, and as a general player, I would obviously pick Kovacic as well. It's just in this lineup and system that I'd have. But look, I can't argue with Kovacic because he's a fantastic player.
I think you're right in regards to the balance factor, Jonathan. I must say, Kante and Jorginho, theoretically, you think that's more of a balance because Jorginho doesn't go out there and drive. Kante does. I just feel like Kovacic can do what Jorginho does, but offers a little bit more in terms of that attacking prowess. Because it's three at the back, it's not the regular sort of two. It allows both of them to sort of roam around a little bit. Because that Atletico Madrid game gave me a bit of a vision that maybe they can coexist and work together. Look, there could be instances where it may not work and you need someone like Jorginho to come in. But I think if we're thinking about the best sort of solution, let's go with Kova for this instance.
Yeah.
Jonathan, up front, left sort of inside forward.
I think purely because of how much he's played him. Well, obviously Mount's one of these two, 100%. I don't know whether it would be left or right, but because of the amount he's played him, I just feel like Werner. I don't think Werner's probably in my strongest 11, but Werner is going to be in there because of how much he's played and how much Tuchel has kind of believed in him. But I wouldn't really put him in my first 11. I would be tempted to say Havertz and Mount behind a Giroud, but that hasn't really been tested. And Giroud doesn't suit every kind of game. And if we're going on a balance of we want this 11 to be suitable for as many scenarios as possible, you've probably got to put Werner in there along with Mount. And then, I think that just allows for different scenarios, different teams with low block, teams that are going to come out so we can counter, teams that want to be more possession based. I think it just gives us that versatility. And obviously Havertz has looked good he's played 2-3 times up front. He looked really, really good against Everton, not so well against Leeds, but we didn't utilise him against Leeds. So I don't think that was as much him failing in that role. So right now, I've liked Havertz the times he's played there. And again, if we're going for a team that can play against every setup, I feel like he's probably the best solution right now.
I have to agree with this front three as well with you, Jonathan. Obviously, as you can see, Ziyech is missing, so that hurts me, but it is what it is. Taron, would you change anything from this lineup in regards to the best 11 for this particular formation before we look into the, sort of the weaknesses where we can probably bolster a little bit with some transfers?
For me, this is probably I'd say the strongest 11 in terms of the personnel. Ziyech and Pulisic, it's really unfair to leave them two out. Pulisic, we've seen him at his best. He's an undroppable player at his best. Ziyech as well, his creativity. But we've seen in the early games Mason Mount with that energy, the way he can kind of transitions from, the attacking kind of midfield to the attack, dropping in between the lines. Havertz is, I say, probably our most complete striker in terms of his pace, his hold-up play, his finishing, his positional interplay. So, Werner as well. We've seen in the Leeds game that when he wasn't playing, it was maybe a struggle with pressing and trying to win the ball back. So, I'd say Werner's definitely in there. And Alonso and Cho, I definitely agree they're probably the best in the wing-back position. So, there is a few positions that I would strengthen, but we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant that we've all this particular lineup. Gaurav, Chelsea looks smooth and lethal with Havertz up top. Yeah, I have to agree. He's been very, very good, instrumental actually in that sort of false line position. All right, let's get into this conversation now. So we've looked at the lineup. Let's have a quick look, and I'll go to Taron this time. We'll start things off with Taron. Taron, where do you think in this particular lineup the formation is where you think is a bit of a weakness, and we could do with a transfer? Let's start with the first position, and then I'll go to Johnathan for the next one. Where do you think we definitely need a bit of an upgrade here?
Okay, this is kind of my opinion, and I'm sure people would maybe disagree with me, but I'm really confident in what I'm saying here. For me, Alonso is a player that will be good for a few games, and then he will have a dip in form. He is a really good player in the left wing back spot. He can be that kind of attacking player who can drift into the box. But for me, left wing back, if we are going to stick with this, I don't see Chilwell being probably the best left wing back. He probably will be in the future. But for me, should I name the player miss that I'd probably bring in?
Yeah, 100%. Bring in your player.
For me, a player that's worked with Tuchel in the past, and I've seen him, he's really perfect for that role, is Rafael Guerreiro. I think that he can be a really dynamic box-to-box left wing back. He's great at defending, one-on-one defending, great at attacking, and I think that he's more suited to that than Chilwell and Alonso, and he's more of a sustainable option in the future. So that's probably the first position that I'll bring in. And I think Guerreiro, he knows what Tuchel's about. He knows the system. He knows when to go forward, when to go back. So he's probably more balanced than Alonso in terms of attacking and defending, and he knows the position a bit more than Ben Chilwell. So yeah, that's kind of who the first position I'd go for.
I'd 100% agree with that. That was the name in my mind, Rafael Guerreiro. Johnathan, your thoughts about the left wing-back position? Do you agree with Taron with Rafael Guerreiro, or you got someone else in your mind? Or do you keep Alonso?
Yeah, Alonso is too up and down. As much as he is someone that offers a lot going forward, defensively, he's not very good. And look, if I was a team and looking at this Tuchel system, Tuchel has set us up really well. We look so in control, in possession, out of possession, even defensively. When we don't look as watertight, we still clean sheets. So, but if I was a right winger, had a bit of pace, had a bit of trickery to me, I would target Alonso 100% to get him behind him, to run at him. You twist and turn a couple of step overs and you've sold him pretty much. So that's no disrespect to him. And then Rudiger, as much as I absolutely... Well, I've been astonished at how good he's been on the Tuchel. He can be rash, he can be aggressive, which I do actually like of him. But that left side I would see as a bit of a weakness, because Rudiger can make mistakes. You get him on an off day as well as Alonso, and that is an opportunity, in my opinion, on that side. So left wing back, I think Guerreiro is a fantastic shout. I was trying to think of other options before we sort of started. If we're talking about dream scenarios, I'd love to get someone like Cancelo from Man City, but that's not really very possible. So, yeah, I think Guerreiro would be a good option. It's interesting whether we are going to go out and spend money, though, bearing in mind we've got Chilwell. And I don't feel like the three at the back is an option going forward for Tuchel. I feel like he's just playing to suit the players at hand. So maybe I would change that left centre-back, Rudiger, and we've got players like Mark Gui on loan, who is superb. Ampadu's looks superb for Sheffield United. So those are two options that we could bring in. But Rudiger has been fantastic. So I can't disagree with Taron on the left wing back role. And it's really hard to pick holes in the rest of this side, because Silva's solid. Azpilicueta has been solid as a captain for so long. Mendy obviously has been superb. Hudson-Odoi or James, so I don't feel like we need a transfer. And we've got a breadth of talent in the midfield pivot. We've got Jorginho and Gilmour just sitting on the bench. So, yeah, it's tough to pick holes in the rest of it.
So that's massive segue now into the next side of things, because I'm going to come to you now, Johnathan. You're saying you're happy with the back three. I want to throw a spanner at you now. Obviously, Guerreiro, we've locked that in. I agree with that. As great as Rudy and Aspie has been, and obviously, look, these are just hypotheticals, right? We're not asking for this to happen. We're just saying that how do we bolster it to make it the best? I feel like, boys, these positions here, Rudy and Aspie, we need the right centre back and left centre back, dynamic sort of players who can sort of overlap as well. So not only Guerreiro will be flying up and down here, but you need at times when it's low blocks, and generally we will play against teams that are low blocks, where Rudy can go up. And that's what we've seen certain times where Rudy's made those crazy runs, especially against Leeds, where he's run, all the way down. He made a brilliant sort of dribbling sort of run there. And Azpilicueta, he scored against Burnley. I remember how he's done the overlapping. So from your perspective, Johnathan, hypothetically speaking, as we've mentioned, do you still keep it as it is, or do you change maybe, one of these to, I don't know, more of a robust left centre back or a right centre back? What's your thoughts?
It's interesting because Zuma, is a lot more powerful. We've seen him go on runs, that famous one he did against Ajax. So I think he's got it in him, Zoom. I just don't feel like he's told. I think he's just told to be a little bit more reserved. But as I said, we've got Gui on the sidelines or on loan. We've got Sarr on loan from Porto. We've got Ampadu. So even within, we've got options at centre-back. And that's, forgetting Andreas Christensen that can come in. So at the moment, if we're talking about how good they've been playing this season, I feel like that three I'm happy with, because as a three, they're solid and they don't make many mistakes. But if you then, let's say we downgraded it to a 2, then I would certainly change up one of them, Rudiger or Azpilicueta. Probably not have Azpilicueta in the side at all. And whether I'd have Rudiger, I'm not so sure. Maybe I would have Zuma or Christensen next to Silva. But in a 3, I'm happy with this.
All right, brilliant. Let's keep it. Taron, you happy with the 3 as well? You happy with Rudy, Silva, Aspi? Would you change anything?
Yeah, I'm going to throw a span in the works here. For me, Aspi, he is our captain, and for long term, I think that maybe he's not the most sustainable option. I think that if Reece James was to transition into that right centre-back role, I think he's more suited to that. And I really am backing Antonio Rudiger. I wouldn't replace him. Silva, we have Christensen for the future. But for the right wing-back spot, I don't know if we've gone on to that yet, but for me, I have 2 options that can kind of play there for Hudson-Odoi, who I know prefers to play in a left inverted forward role. If Reece James is back then, centre-back role, I go for Jesus Corona or Achraf Hakimi. They're not really huge realistic signings, but I think Corona was linked with us in the summer. I think his release was like 21 million or something. I watched him play against Juventus, and I think he's a really good player. He's really dynamic on the wings. He has good technical ability.
Taron, Callum Hudson-Odoi is not a long-term right wing-back, man. He's simply not a long-term.
Yeah.
So that, if we're happy with keeping the back 3 predominantly, I think Callum Hudson-Odoi is the other one that I would change. And as Taron said, Hakimi is a big shout. Go on, Taron.
Yeah, Hakimi, another player who I've really liked from Dortmund. Under Lucien Favre, he was unplayable. He got crazy numbers, assists and goals. And at Juventus as well, he's doing bits. And Antonio Conte, that right wing-back role is built for Achraf Hakimi. He's as good going forward, I feel, as Hudson-Odoi at times. He's really not as solid going back, but he's a really good one-on-one defender. He's good in the air. So for me, Hakimi would be great. But also Corona, I won't complain for Jesus Corona. Maybe not the best word to use in this current time zone, but I think Jesus Corona could be, really perfect for that wing-back role as well. So Hudson-Odoi, I don't see him as a long-term option. I think he's even come out and said, I am a left cam, a left forward, or a left winger. So he knows what's best for him. And I'm sure Tuchel knows that as well. So, Corona I see as more realistic than Hakimi. Guys, Hakimi joined Juventus for Inter Milan for 37 million. So, I would say Corona is a realistic option for that role.
Does Jesus Corona generally play the right wing-back, or is more sort of a winger? Is he going to be somewhere? Yeah.
Yeah, Porto, I believe, do play at 3 at the back with Sarr, Pepe, and Mbemba, I believe. So I'm sure Corona does play that role. And we were linked to him as a right winger back before we got Timo Werner. So I would say he can play both roles as well. He's a really versatile winger. So I really like the look of Corona, and I feel like I think he could be really suited to that.
Jonathan, what's your thoughts? Would you go with Jesus Corona, or would you go with Achraf Hakimi, or anyone else?
Yeah, Hakimi would be one of the names that I would look in if we were to go over right wing back position. The reason I haven't changed the 3 and I've put Hudson-Odoi there with obviously James in the background is because I still don't see it long term. So I've seen some comments about Azpilicueta. Right now, if we're going on form, that's the 3 I'd pick, and I'm happy with. But in the long term, I don't really want to see us with a 3 at the back, and I don't think we will. But to go back to my point, right wing back, I'd go Hakimi because Corona is a very realistic option. I completely agree with Taron. But if I'm going sort of dream signing, someone that would come in and transform us, Hakimi is a fantastic option. Done brilliant at Dortmund, doing brilliant now at Inter Milan. But it's because he's been in a system or in a manager system where they understand the left and right wing back role, and Hakimi has relished it. Conte is someone that's played it everywhere he's gone, and now Tuchel's adopting it, and he would slot right in if we played this system. Where he would play in a 4 at the back, would he play left back, right back? Maybe. Defensively, I've seen him not been too good at times, but any wing back can be tested and have issues. So he would play anywhere, though, in my opinion. So right wing back, if we could choose someone to slot in there, Hakimi's right up there.
Yeah, you're right. Hakimi's versatility is unbelievable. As you said, he can pretty much play anywhere in the backside. Sometimes he can even play in the left wing back position as well. So I think I agree with this. Obviously, Taron has said Hakimi as well, but also Jesus Corona. He would have gone with Corona, but Hakimi is 2-1. Taron, Johnathan, and I have picked Hakimi, so we stick with Hakimi. So far, this backline looks quite solid. So we've got the three at the back. We've seen how strong they've been with Mendy, and then Guerrero and Hakimi are proper wing backs. We are going to get a lot of purchase with them. Taron, in regards to the double sixes, do you keep it as it is, or do you twerk a little bit with that?
Yeah, for the double sixes, I would have said, this formation, I feel like Johnathan did touch on this a little bit, that, we need someone to kind of hold that position. But I feel like with the three at the back, with a sweeper in the centre-back role, I feel like that does allow Kovacic and Kante to go forward. I would have said a name that I'm going to mention in the later formations that we do. But for this formation, I'd say that we do have Jorginho, Gilmour, Kovacic, Kante, even Mason Mount, who can all play in that role. So I feel like we have enough players. There is always a need for a holding DM who can do everything, who can break up the play, who has good ball progression, who's good at tackling. But yeah, I don't feel like we need that necessarily in this formation. They're two really flexible players, Kovacic and Kante. And yeah, for the double sixes, I'd say we do stick with them. We've been really defensively solid under Tuchel so far. So if we are going to stick with this formation, which again I don't see us doing in the long term, then yeah, Kovacic, Kante, Mount, Jorginho, Gilmour, they're all good enough players. So yeah, I'm sticking with them. Look.
Yeah, I'm also sticking with that. Johnathan, you sticking with the double sixes?
Yeah, you can't take Kante out because of how good he is and his world-class talent. And yeah, Kovacic or Jorginho, I'm happy with. So yeah, Kovacic is fantastic and has been for a couple of seasons now. So yeah, no arguments there.
All right, let's move straight into the front three. Start with you, Johnathan. Happy with Timo Werner at the moment with the amount of chances and whatnot that he's getting. Mason Mount, obviously, he's actually had probably one of the better seasons this season. And Kai Havertz, I mean, it's still early days. Do you change anything in that front three? It'll be very difficult to sort of say, yeah, no, I'm keeping it, because let's be honest, it's not like we've been putting away goals at the moment. So what's your thoughts?
Immediately, I would take out Werner, drop Havertz back. As much as I've said he's been good in the false nine, I want to accommodate a goal scorer, because Havertz still hasn't got that mindset of a number 9. As good as he is going forward, as versatile as he is, as much as I love him, you can't quite buy that instinct. It's natural, it's born with, and he hasn't quite got it yet. You can learn it, but he's just not always there when we need someone sniffing around, and someone that has been mentioned on every YouTube channel in the entire world, probably even on the moon, on Mars, on other planets, because he's that good at scoring goals, is Erling Haaland. And, he's obviously a massive option. He's been touted as our number 1 target. But I can't also take away the fact that
Lukaku. What about Lukaku?
There we go. Exactly. I can't also take away from the fact of our supposed number 2 target, a Chelsea fan, someone that was at Chelsea for a couple of years. He's now, doing bits at Inter Milan, as one of my mates said. He's doing bits. You need to get him back, John. And to be honest, he's not a bad number 2, is he? As a number 2 striker to get in. So I think. And one thing I'm going to say about Lukaku is when he was in the Premier League for Man United, they didn't quite suit him the way they play. They didn't play to his strengths. They didn't get the best out of him. At Inter Milan, Conte wanted him at Chelsea. It was well known. We got Morata. Inter Milan, he's got his wish, Conte, and they're playing to Lukaku's strengths. But one thing I will say is, I know the Italian league is a lot stronger defensively. But if you look at a lot of Lukaku's goals, their counter-attacks, their breakaways, and the way Tuchel plays and the system that we play, we aren't going to get that many chances, because we've seen it with Werner, a counter-attacking striker. The only thing I would say is, Lukaku is big, he is strong, he uses his frame. All that touch nonsense that people used to talk about has got a lot better. But again, it's a slower league. He's got more time. He scored goals for Everton and West Brom in the Premier League. So I'm not saying he wouldn't score goals for Chelsea.
I feel like he's a lot more mature as well, Johnathan.
Definitely. He's 26, 27. For him to come back and have a redemption at Stamford Bridge, kind of the second chance, a homecoming for him, I feel like he would relish it. I feel like he would, as I say, he scored 20, 25 goals. But from what I'm seeing the last 2 seasons of the goals he scored, a lot of them are the goals that we're not getting opportunities to see right now, which is obviously another reason I said earlier why Werner's not relishing or not getting as many goals as he probably should. But also, the second caveat I'd say is we do create chances, not as many as I'd like. How many do we create 2, 3, 4 clear-cut chances a game? Because sometimes Lukaku does need that to score. Haaland is the most efficient, striker in world football, you'd say. But
conversion
Lukaku,
rate is off the hook.
Unbelievable. And Lukaku, is he going to get 2, 3, 4 clear-cut chances right now in this 3 at the back system? No. Especially in a low block, he's not going to get that time and space. If you have 2, 3 centre-backs marking him, it will be a little harder. So I'm making reasons for why you'd want to go after Haaland. I'm not taking anything away from Lukaku. If we sign Lukaku, I'll be over the moon. He's a fantastic signing. But Haaland is just someone that poaches goals, that scores goals. And what we've missed at times is someone just standing in the box and waiting to put the ball in the back of the net. You've got Havertz and Mount that can do the rest of the dirty work and do the running, do the pressing, do the assisting. You've got the left and right wing back in this role that can cross, that can get the ball in the box, that can drive and take on players. So you just need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. Whether that's Lukaku, whether that's Haaland, I don't really mind. But because of the stature, the goals he scores, I feel like Haaland is a slightly more realistic option right now, but that could all change. And as I said, for this system, Haaland would just about, get over the line for me, because we just need a goal scorer. That is all we need in this side.
I feel exactly like you. Everything that you said, look, I would be over the moon if we get Lukaku. Everything that you said, all the sentimental sort of stuff in regards to Lukaku coming back, and he truly loves the club. You can tell he wants to come back. He really does want to come back. And I think it's not just about unfinished business. I think he truly wants to come back, because I feel like he's never felt like home with any other clubs, and he wants to come back home. Taron, just quickly from your side, are you happy with the Haaland shout, or are you thinking about Lukaku in this instance?
Yeah, for Haaland, 100%. For the main transfer target that we need to make this team, challenge for the Champions League trophy, challenge for the Premier League year in year out, 100% Erling Haaland. He'll be probably our main striker for the next 10 to 15 years, hopefully, if he does sign for us. But Lukaku, if he is signed, I won't be upset at all. The only thing I have about Lukaku that I'm not really convinced by is in the Premier League, he didn't have a lot of space. He's better when he's backing into defender one-on-one. He can try and use his strength to bully past him and score. But in the Premier League, he had like 3 or 4 bodies around him. That's kind of the only thing I'd say. Also, what Johnathan said, I agreed with. He's played under counter-attacker managers Roberto Martinez, Tony Pulis. He's played under Jose Mourinho. He didn't play under Louis van Gaal. So these are all counter-attacker managers. How does he play in a team that needs to retain possession, that needs to press from the front? I haven't seen Lukaku press him very well. So for Erling Haaland, I think that he's only 19, 20 years old. How good will he be in the future? Roman looks like he wants to, he doesn't go for ball.
And Lukaku's going to be 28. He's going to be 28 this season.
Yeah, 20 years old. And Roman doesn't want to really go for manager-based signings a lot anymore. He's looking in the long term. We know the managers don't really last long at this club. We've seen with Kai Havertz, maybe he didn't fit in Lampard's system, but we know that Havertz is going to be playing for us for a long time. So Haaland will fit into many different systems. I think he is really good at retaining possession. He's not the best passer of the ball, but he's good at backing into defenders. He's quite smart on the ball. So, yeah, 100% Erling Haaland. Werner, he can be a rotational player. He's not done enough this season to make us think, 100% he has to start for us next season. I'm not really convinced by 2, players that are quite similar in Havertz and Mount, but I feel like we need a little bit more pace in there with Pulisic maybe or Ziyech. But yeah, I'm happy with that. Maybe there's one I could take out would be Havertz for Christian Pulisic, but I'm sure that you guys, it's going to be a 2-on-1 on that. That's just my personal preference. Havertz and Haaland are going to be absolutely deadly. It's just about where's the blistering pace. Obviously, Haaland is blistering, but where is that kind of dynamism on the ball there? I'm just trying to look at that. But yeah, 100%. Pulisic on the bench, Werner on the bench, Ziyech on the bench. We have so much squad depth if we keep this formation. But to answer your question, Miz, I'll keep Erling Haaland if we want to challenge for all the big trophies, and Lukaku will do a job for us for the next 5 to 7 years. So yeah, I'm happy.
No, absolutely, bro. I mean, completely understand your talks about Havertz and Mount. You need a bit of blistering pace there. I will throw that question back to Johnathan soon, but just before we do that, in regards to Erling Haaland, there's been a few comments here that he didn't score in the international duty as well for Norway. against Turkey, Turkey absolutely shut things down. And Turkey had, besides Soyuncu, I don't think I know any other Turkish defenders there. So, I've said it in Matisse's channel last week as well, and just yesterday with Yunus, that I completely believe in Erling Haaland. I know he's going to be quite devastating. And as Johnathan said, his conversion rate itself says what a lethal finisher he is. But we need to be a bit cautious that Premier League is not something where you just walk in and just do whatever you want to do. It's not Bundesliga. Bundesliga, maybe he had the time, the space, and that's why he's absolutely annihilated that league. Yes, some people can go on and say, well, he's done that in the Champions League as well against some bigger clubs, your Sevillas and Lazios and PSG and whatnot. But, we've got the prayers coming up. Johnathan, you take it for a little bit until I sort of mute myself. But yeah, talk a little bit about Haaland and how if you have any concerns over that.
Yeah, for me, as I said, I feel like I've been disrespectful to Lukaku because Lukaku is an absolutely he's a dominating striker, and one of the things I was going to say is about the profile of strikers that Chelsea have had over so many years. I mean, you look at since Abramovich has come in, you've seen two really successful strikers, and we talk about having a big, strong, dominating forward as that kind of linchpin, the guy that we can play off. Drogba and Diego Costa. Those are the two strikers that have performed and have been, they've been the two best strikers since Abramovich has come in. And it's because of their profile, because we've always had a striker that will bully defenders, that scores goals, that brings others into play. And that's what Drogba and Costa do. We've seen failed signings in Shevchenko, Morata as recently, now Werner's having similar struggles. And I'm not saying Werner's going down that route, but you look at the names we've spent money on. Look at Mutu, who was an early option. We've had so many strikers that have come in and just failed to live up to that potential. The only two that we've had that have had that profile, had that stature, had that physicality, have been the ones that have been successful. And yes, we've played a 4-3-3 since Mourinho came in, sort of from those early days. And Chelsea, for so long, because we kept having interim managers that came in for short periods of time, we always kind of reset to default, which was 4-3-3, two wingers aside of a big, strong striker. And because Drogba was around for so long, we just utilised him. He would lead the team, he would lead the line. And then Costa came in and we were like, oh, okay, he fit in like a glove. But other strikers that have come in, we just don't seem to be able to accommodate a striker with movement that is, not someone that can hold the ball up and bring others in. So, yeah, we've always defaulted back to that type of 4-3-3. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like that is an option for Tuchel. If you get a striker like Haaland and Lukaku, yes, Lukaku is going to be stronger, going to hold off players more. He's got that pace. But Haaland, he's just a goal scorer. And that is, in my opinion, what we're missing. And he has quite a big frame. He can be physical. He can hold players off. But he's just known for putting the ball in the back of the net. And in regards to Havertz, he is deceivingly quick as well. And as much as he's similar to Mount, I just feel like the movement of someone like a Haaland, Havertz and Mount, they would interchange positions. They'd link up nicely. And I just feel like there's so much quality in that front three. Mount's showing it now for England and proving any remaining doubters wrong. Havertz will show he's got better and better in the last few games. So, yeah, whatever striker you use, Havertz and Mount are versatile players that will add quality to any side. So that's why I'd kind of keep them two in there. Nearly done. I will continue my little thing. So, yeah, I just think, with the striker, because of that profile that we've been used to, maybe that's one of the reasons why so many fans are leaning towards Lukaku, because they kind of get that Drogba vibe, that Costa vibe. But as I said, for the reasons earlier on, I just feel like we just miss a goal scorer. Maybe when Tuchel changes the system, we have fought the back, we create more chances, we get more players into the box. Right now we're only getting 1-2 players in the box for crosses and certain scenarios, and that isn't enough if you want to score goals. You look at the best teams in this league over the last 2 seasons, Liverpool and Manchester City. They get so many players in and around the box, and that's why they score so many goals. So that's all we need to add, in my opinion. But yeah, either option, in my opinion, is good. Haaland or Lukaku, I'd happily take either.
Yeah, what? Firstly, thank you guys for being patient for that. I just had the prayers in the background. Thank you heaps, Johnathan, for taking that. I think we keep with Haaland. Look, in regards to what Taron said as well, and you as well, Johnathan, in regards to long-term vision. Haaland fits in nicely. Guys, I think we will lock this in for this formation. Obviously, we want to talk about all the other formations as well. Mendy is the other one that the live chat has been talking about. I mean, do we need an alternative look? For me, I'm keeping Mendy for the time being, man, because he deserves a lot more respect. He's put in so many clean sheets. I think we need to keep him. Taron, let's now look into the 4-2-3-1 formation. So let me just rejig this a little bit. Obviously, we'll change this up. And if we were to go with the best sort of lineup under the players that we have right now, who are your two CBs? Obviously, Silva's one of them. Who's the other one, Taron?
My other centre back will be Kurt Zuma, I think, in this formation. I think I would say Christensen or Rudiger, but I'm not convinced by either of them in a four at the back. Zuma was arguably our best defender before, he had a drop in form. Lampard decided to try out Rudiger in the Leicester game and in other big games. But yeah, Kurt Zuma, probably my preferred option.
Yeah, I have to agree. I cannot deny that one bit. In right back and left back position, who you got?
Yeah, I really don't want to drop Azpilicueta out of the side, but in this modern day, your right back needs to be dynamic, needs to be in both boxes. I feel like Azpi is more suited to being that kind of, the reader of play in the right centre back role. So I go with Reece James at right back. He was amazing under Lampard when we were in amazing form. He was bullying defenders. He was using his strength. He was really good at crossing, overlapping Ziyech. So yeah, and the left back, I'll go with Ben Chilwell. I think that Ben Chilwell is really good in a left back role. And yeah, he's still signed for England there. So I'll say Ben Chilwell. I really like him in a left back. And Guerrero, I say he's not really suited to a left back role as much as Chilwell. Alonso, obviously, we can all agree Alonso is not a very good left back. Emerson as well. And yeah, that's kind of the fullbacks.
Yeah, man, 100% agree that RJ needs to be there. When we're talking about right backs, he's the best one out there. Jonathan, for the time being, you happy with the back four and the keepers? Obviously, keeper's going to be as it is. But the back four so far, you happy with it?
As a left back and right back, I would say Chilwell and RJ with our current setup, definitely. I think they are the best in those two roles. For Zuma and Silva, obviously Silva, as we've said, is a non-starter. That question it answers itself. Zuma, Christensen and Rudiger have not looked as good in the two. Zuma as someone, and I've made this analogy before, playing with more of a leader like Cahill, did with Terry. Zuma looks a lot better with someone solid and a leader next to him. So yeah, I would say as a second centre back, Zuma's probably the one I would go with. So yeah, I can't argue with any of that there that Taron has given.
Brilliant. Let's go to Taron again. If we're going with the 4-2-3-1 formation like we've shown here, the 2 double sixes still keeping with Kova and Kante, or do you do something different now knowing that it's back four?
I do something different now knowing it's back four, actually. And like I said before, I do like Kovacic and Kante being a double pivot in a 3 at the back system with, an extra sweeper at the back to kind of defend it. But I mentioned this in a much earlier stream. It was a few weeks ago now that in this system, I feel like you do need a player who can sit and can hold the position. In this Lampard's first season, at Chelsea, we saw Kovacic and Jorginho when they were in a pivot for when Kante was injured. And them two looked unplayable at times. The way they were in the middle of the pitch, they moved the ball forwards. They're really disciplined, dynamic. The way they progressed out of the defence into the attack. And Kante and Kova, I do really rate them as a two in the bigger game. But they do both like to destroy and they both like to attack. They both like to go forward. So, yeah, for that reason, I really don't want to say it. But I'm taking Kante out and bringing in Jorginho. I think that Kovacic and Kante are probably the most disciplined and the most balanced duo. Kante, no disrespect to him at all. 100%. He's an amazing world-class player on his day. But in this system, not for me. Potentially, instead of Kovacic, would be a replacement. But yeah, Jorginho and Kova is my two.
I have to agree. In this system, Kante, he can be in, but he needs a different partner.
Yeah.
It can't be any of these two partners.
Yeah.
Jonathan, do you sort of agree with that analysis as well with the double pivot?
Yeah, 100% for the reasons I said earlier. It's even more prominent in a back two, where Jorginho can kind of sit as that sweeper at times and hold his position more and allow Kante to go and press and interrogate, as I'd like to say. That's a word I've thought about Kante recently. Interrogate. People talk about pressing. he interrogates opposition, the way he takes the ball off people. So I would change it to Kante instead of Kovacic, to be fair. Just because you've got Jorginho that will sit and then Kante that will go forward. So, yeah, slightly different, but I would definitely go with Jorginho.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're keeping that. Taron, moving forward to the 3 over here. You've got the 10, the left winger, the right winger. 100% something's changing here. So let's start with the 10. Who's your 10?
Yeah, I just had to quickly mention to Tchouaméni. I mentioned that on my podcast with Zach Chloe. He's a really promising option. He's a DM who can kind of sit there. But yeah, we'll get onto the transfer a little bit later. But yeah, the cam is a really, really hard position for me to kind of call. Do we go with Mason Mount, or do we go with Kai Havertz or Hakim Ziyech or Pulisic? There's so many different players. But for me, in this formation, are we sticking with Erling Haaland for this formation, or since we haven't signed him yet, we're going to kind of...
We haven't signed him, so we're going to talk about the best 11 from Chelsea now, and then we talk about...
right now, yeah. So in that case, I'm sticking with Mason Mount at cam. I think that he was decent last year at cam. He had a really great start, but he was not the player that he is now. He's improved his game by heaps this year. He's been much better dropping him between the lines. His end product, I feel like, has improved. And he looks like a much more complete player under Tuchel and Lampard. So for me, Mason Mount. And the right winger, it's again a really hard option. But considering our best winger, I'd say Hakim Ziyech as a right winger. Yeah. Hudson-Odoi is a close shout. But for this, I know he likes to play on the left, Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech. He played at Ajax, interchanging with Van der Beek, Neres, Tadic up front. So yeah, Ziyech, he's experienced in that position. So Ziyech. And left winger, I'd go with, this is my personal option, I'd say Christian Pulisic is probably the best for that position. Yeah. Timo Werner again. But the thing about that for that position is you need a bit more defensive work rate comparing to a 3 at the back formation. We saw Werner playing that left wing back role, not left wing back, sorry, what am I saying? In the left wing role under Lampard. He didn't really track the runners as well. We saw Kieran Tierney constantly getting past him against in the Arsenal game. And up front, I'll go with Kai Havertz. Olivier Giroud and Tammy Abraham are close shouts. Abraham, I respect him a lot for what he's done for Chelsea. I really rate him as a player. But I mentioned earlier, Havertz is probably the most complete and on form right now. So there's many notable mentions in that position. I feel really bad leaving out, Kante, Giroud, obviously Timo Werner. But I feel like that is our best lineup in this formation. If Tuchel does transition to this next season, we could really likely see this. So yeah, I say that this is our best formation. This is our best team for this formation.
I have to agree. This is exactly what I was thinking in regards to 4-2-3-1. This is the lineup that I would go with as well, especially that front, because Havertz gives you that height up front and obviously ability to sort of drop deep and link up in the middle. Mount, he has to be in the team, man. He's been so good and he's developing into a very, very good player. And this is probably his best position right now. He can't play in this formation in the wings. Ziyech comes in 100% in this formation. His ability to play from these areas and whipping those crosses, but more than that, his ability to sort of manipulate these areas. And Pulisic, I think, is a better shout when this formation is played to play a left sort of wing position. Johnathan, do you change anything here in regards to our best 11 with the players we have with this formation?
I take out Ziyech, much to your dismay, Miz, and I put in Callum Hudson-Odoi.
On the right side?
On the right-hand side, yeah. Because as much as I love Hudson-Odoi from the left, I agree with the Pulisic shouts in this kind of system where you've got a bit more, where you've got more options in the attacking sense. I feel like Pulisic, with a run of games and injury-free, could make a lot of impact. And I just feel with Hudson-Odoi, he takes on players like not many others. Pulisic is the only one in the team that kind of does that. He's got pace, he can cross, he can shoot, and him and Pulisic can alternate. Mount can also drift out. Hudson-Odoi can move inside. Havertz will drop deep and allow Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi to go further. So as much as I like Ziyech, and I want to see him, I want to see every player get a run of games and get some form, because Ziyech has been better recently, but he's still a little bit far off where we need him to be. And in that role, where, like you said, you need to be a little bit more aware defensively, Hudson-Odoi has had to be in a right wing-back role, so I feel like he's a little bit more switched on now. See, I would put Hudson-Odoi instead of Ziyech at the moment as our best 11, but I get the Ziyech shouts. I feel like we're going a lot more off what he can do, Ziyech, not what he has done in a Chelsea shirt. But I get why you'd say that.
In recent times, it looks like Ziyech is coming back into form and he's looking.
Hopefully, I agree.
Very, very good again. And in recent times, I don't know if Callum Hudson-Odoi has been looking that great off the back of last couple of matches. So,
Yeah.
I mean, completely understand what you're saying in regards to Callum playing that role a little bit more direct, perhaps. But in this case, Johnathan, Taron and I, we win. So we keep the edge. But Johnathan, if we're looking at this formation now, where do you think we need the upgrades to make it better? Let's start from the back. I think Mendy we're keeping. I know a lot of people talking about Donnarumma, but Mendy we're keeping. I don't want to talk about Donnarumma stuff right now. Silva and Zuma, a lot of people are already saying Sachin, MV here. CB, really? I think it's a bit suspect, Johnathan. I feel like, yes, as good as Zuma is, he can have that odd sort of moment. I like Zuma, I really do. But I feel like Thiago Silva needs a different partner. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about replacements, obviously Silva needs to be replaced probably the end of next season. So we need to bring Christian along. We need to get him game time to kind of see if he's going to take the mantle off of Silva. Because to replace two centre-backs in a year is going to be really difficult. So we've got the option of Christensen and obviously Zuma. You've got Rudiger. Whether you keep Rudiger, Christensen and Zuma, I don't know. But if I could, talk about a centre-back that could come in, we've been linked to this guy quite a while ago, not recently, but Jimenez from Atletico Madrid. He's an option that would improve the defence. Someone who loves to use his physicality, not scared to get his foot in, and someone completely different to Silva. Silva's a lot more accomplished, a lot better on the ball. Jimenez is a lot more up and at them. So I feel like those two would complement each other. And I just, if we were looking at ideal scenarios, that would be the weak link in that side because Chilwell's a lot better as a left back. He kind of knows his role there.
Jonathan Marquinhos?
I think Marquinhos can play in so many different positions. So I would completely agree with Marquinhos at centre-back. I would also look at him maybe even going a little bit forward into the DM role and playing maybe as one of those pivots. So it's a really interesting one, and I would not be against that at all. And I know you've been someone that's talked about it a lot, and I completely agree with what you've said in the past. So, yeah, I feel like Jimenez is a realistic option. I don't know if Marquinhos is whether PSG would let him go. They seem he's kind of one of their landmark players. I don't know if they'd let him go cheaply. So whilst I'm trying to mix,
he's their captain.
Yeah, I mean, Hakimi was probably a little bit far fetched because I don't think we're going to get him. And I'm trying to be realistic here, but yeah, Marquinhos, I would bringing him in as there, maybe put Marquinhos with Kante or with Jorginho, with Kovacic. So maybe have him a bit more further forward. So if we were to get him, wow, that would improve the team massively. But yeah, I just feel like Jimenez complements Silva. I feel like Silva and Marquinhos have done fantastic at PSG, but they're similar in a way. They are both very good on the ball, very good at tackling, intercepting, and knowing where to get to prevent a mistake happening. So yeah, Jimenez is just one that maybe people wouldn't have thought about as much as I'd love Marquinhos as well. So yeah, I totally get the arguments for Marquinhos.
No, for sure. Taron, do you keep with Jimenez or you've got any other centre-backs in your mind? Or do you just keep with the ones we have?
Jimenez is a great shout. I feel like, we're linked with him. He would be, I say Kurt Zuma, but with a bit more, composure, technical ability on the ball. But for me, I don't think it's realistic. And I say we are going realistic here. Maybe Hakimi wasn't. Jimenez, I think his release clause is 109 million euros. So for me, I don't think Jimenez is realistic. Two other names I'll throw in the spanner, and the spanner works for the left centre-back role, will be Milan Skriniar and Nicolas Zula. I know people are coming at Zula for his performance against Borussia Dortmund, but that was in a right-back role. Against, I believe it was Torgan Hazard. So, Nicolas Zula, I know Arvin, my friend Miz, he only has good words to say about Zula. He doesn't rate many players, but with Zula, he's always talking highly of him. He's saying that in a fault the back as a left centre-back, he has everything you need. He has a reading of play. He has the weight to defend it in a high line. He has the ability on the ball. So I believe Zula was like £4 million pounds or euros, something like that. Also, Milan Skriniar. I know he's a bit unsettled. Well, I don't know him personally. I know he's a bit unsettled out into Milan with Bastoni coming in there. They have other options. They have obviously De Vrij there as well. So yeah, I'd say that Skriniar is an option. But for me, I really think that Nicolas Zula will be the Ruben Diaz or Virgil van Dijk effect in the system. And when Silva moves on, we could have Zuma, we could have Zula, we could have Christensen, Zula, and Zula will be the replacement for Silva, any of those roles. So for me, Nicolas Zula would have that effect, and that's kind of what I want in our defence.
Yeah, for some, look, I'm not someone that watches Bayern that much. Obviously, I don't watch Bundesliga, but a few times I've seen Sula, I feel like he's error prone as well. But maybe it's because in the Champions League the quality is a little bit better. Johnathan, let's lock this up. Sula a chance at all, or not really for you?
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of him. But when I have, I think I'd say up and down. But yeah, I have read a lot of good things about him. And my friends that watch the Bundesliga do rave about him. You know, the Skriniar shout from Inter Milan, I think that's quite realistic because it could be someone that leaves when Conte probably will leave in a year or two. So yeah, it's all about realistic options. I just don't know whether Skriniar will be one we would go for. Sula are Bayern Munich, as much as they've got Upamecano in, are they going to let someone for the future go? Because they're rebuilding a squad now at Bayern Munich. They're slowly building another team that's going to rule for the next decade. So whether they would let him leave, I don't know. I know they've got Hernandez as well, and obviously, you know, Boateng's probably going to be leaving. Alaba's probably going to be leaving. So are they going to let someone else?
Boateng's another name that we've been linked with, I think.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit older and past it now. I wouldn't say, sorry, not past it, but I think past the chance of moving to someone like Chelsea. Yeah, I see all of those shouts. I say the only reason I've gone with Jimenez is just because his name's been banning about and I know a lot more about him. I'm not so aware of Sula and Skriniar. So yeah, I'll be happy to either of those names.
Let's lock in Jimenez. Taron obviously came up with some big shouts, but we locking in Jimenez here. You know, Johnathan wins some, Taron wins some. That's the way it goes around here. Let's talk about the left and right backs, guys. I don't think I'd change too much. I want to give these guys the opportunity because there was a point under Frank Lampard where these two players were probably the best in the league in terms of right back and left back situation. So I really want to continue with that. So I'm pretty sure the boys, you'd agree, yeah? Just quick yes or no answer in regards to RJ Chilwell. Johnathan?
Yep.
And Taron?
Yep.
Brilliant. All right. I think a lot of the conversations will be happening in this double pivot. I think, and I want to, I'll do my bit first and then you guys sort of chip in. I think if we were to get the best out of this, it has to be Kante. And it has to be someone like I don't know, a Marquinhos or Declan Rice. I don't know if we are linked with Declan Rice anymore, but for me, as you know, guys, I've talked about Marquinhos plenty of time. I think this double pivot becomes dynamic. Let's go to you first up, Taron. Do you keep with anyone from our team? As we've already mentioned, Kante probably needs a better partner in that sort of double sixes when it's four at the back. Do you go with Marquinhos? Do you go with Declan Rice? Or do you have someone else? Obviously, you've mentioned that other French player's name who I can't pronounce her name at all. But what's your thoughts?
Tchouaméni is a player for the future. He's not someone who will slot in next season. We have Ethan Ampadu, who's quite similar to Tchouaméni. So, yeah, for me, I know it's not realistic, and since Frank Lampard left, but Declan Rice is an absolutely fantastic footballer. He has everything you need for that role. For me, he's been probably the best DM in the Premier League, alongside Pierre-Emile Højbjerg this year. Declan Rice can do everything in that role. I don't get who's the manager. I know the board have come out and said they're embarrassed, that he's our academy player and we don't want to pay the big bucks to bring him back in. But for me, he has everything you need. He has the passing. He has the leadership. He's a captain at 21 years old on the pitch. No, Mark Noble is off the pitch, but he is a defensive work rate. He has a personality off the pitch. He has everything you need. Marquinhos, honourable mention. Also, Dennis Zakaria, who's a player who can play there. He's a really dynamic CDM, Mönchengladbach. I don't know if he will stay after Marco Rose is going to Borussia Dortmund, but Zakaria is a very big option. But for me, I think we go all out for Declan Rice. I know it probably won't happen. And Marquinhos, is a very big option. But have we seen enough of him at DM role to think he'll be the player to carry us to, I know Joshua Kimmich transitioned to a DM and we saw a complete different player, but will PSG sell Marquinhos, as Johnathan said? So for me, Declan Rice and Kante will be perfect. We have the destroyer in there. The energy, the pace. We have Declan Rice to defend the counterattacks. So this is a perfect title-winning midfield, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, Rice is someone we've been linked with, and I know some of the people in the hierarchies in Chelsea are not too keen to go back to a player that they've let go of, but I can't deny the fact that Rice is on the up. His stocks are rising. That's a fact. I wouldn't be surprised if Rice makes it to the team of the season, for Premier League team of the season for this season as a DM. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Rice makes it. Johnathan, What's your thoughts in the double sixes? Rice, Marquinhos, Zakaria, anyone else?
Yeah, as much as I like Rice, I feel like that train has left the station. I just feel like Chelsea's stance that have been rumoured from so many journalists, I just don't feel like we're going to go for him. But that's not taking away what he is as a player. I feel like he would add a lot to our side, and he would certainly improve it. So it's not against the fact that I wouldn't like him. I'm unsure whether he is going to come into the club and whether Chelsea are going to pay for him. And also, we're talking about us not wanting to overpay for players that we've sold. We did it with Matic. We don't seem to want to do it with Rice. We seem to maybe want to do it with Lukaku. So it just seems whether the board sees it as a viable option, whether they want to pay the big money. So I don't feel like, he's left, we're not going to sign him, because we've done it with Lukaku. We've done it with Matic. We could do it with Lukaku. But yeah, with Rice, I just feel like it's something that might not happen because Lampard seems to be the one that pushed it. So let's talk about other options. Marquinhos. As I said earlier, the reason I put in Jimenez is because I felt like Marquinhos could play a bit further forward. Again, is he a realistic option? I'm not so sure. That the guy whose name I can't pronounce, Taron said, the French young kid. Yeah, very good player.
Yeah, sure, many. I think we've been rumoured as well with this particular player.
Yeah,
he's a superb talent. I've read a lot of things about him. Again, he's going to have a lot of clubs after him. So whether we actually are the team that sign him. Zakaria is a name I was going to mention, so thank you very much. That's not only my son's name, but he is a superb talent in the Bundesliga. Every time I watch Mönchengladbach, he's one that stands out. And I feel like just his qualities in terms of his physicality, his passing, his defensive ability, he would slot in really, really nicely alongside Kante. And he could certainly take over. I wouldn't say he's Kante's role, but in the defensive midfielder role. I mean, there was a really interesting article from The Athletic about Mikel and about how he transitioned to a defensive mid that I read. It's fascinating to understand from a player's perspective. What he was told to do under Mourinho, I feel like Rice and Kante could do under Tuchel. Just be more disciplined, allow the attackers to do all the attacking work. You just need a pivot to be functional, to block attacks, to stop attacks, to intercept, to give the ball to our attacking players. When you've got a 2 attacking left and right back and 4 players in front of you that want to run at players and score and assist, you don't need 2 in the midfield that are going to, dominate. You can have like a Makelele and Essien in that sense that aren't as interested in going forward, that are just going to dominate a game in the midfield. Because in a lot of games, a midfield is so key, as we've seen so often under Lampard and now Tuchel. If you can control the midfield, you generally win games, and especially big games. So, I feel like Rice, it's a toss-up between Zakaria, Rice, Marquinhos.
I think the Rice train is
just because we've talked about him, that's the thing. But then Marquinhos is probably less likely as well. So
I don't think Marquinhos is happening either. He's the captain of PSG. It's going to literally... We'd have to break the bank to get someone like him. And there was slight rumours when Tuchel came in, but I don't think it's going to happen. And if you boys are happy, I think, how do you spell that lad's name? Taron?
Tchouaméni, did you say?
Yeah.
He's in one of the comments, I think. Someone actually spelled it correct in the comments.
I think I know. Shall I try and spell it? I think it's Tchoua.
Yep. Meni.
Meni,
I think this is probably a good shout. I really think this is because as we've already mentioned,
I don't know, man. I don't know if he's sustainable to be a title-winning CDM at the minute. He's coming in at Monaco under Niko Kovac. So for me, it has to be Zakaria or Rice. I think Marquinhos. So I say we settle it and say Dennis Zakaria, because we've agreed that Declan Rice is not a player that is not going to come to us.
Jonathan's gone with Zakaria as well.
Yeah, I'll happily go Zakaria.
For me, it's Marquinhos, but I don't think it's realistic at all. Zakaria is someone that we've been rumoured with as well. So, and
another name is David Alaba as well. He said he wants to play in the DM role at his new club, but $400K a week. I don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening either, man. Okay, we've locked that in. Do you guys change anything in the front 4? For me, I'm quite happy with that. Obviously, we'll probably bring in Haaland here, but I want to get your point of view. Taron, I'll go to you first up. Do you change anything in the front 4, or do you change Havertz and bring Haaland in and maybe put Havertz in number 10?
Yeah, for me, I've seen Havertz playing in 4-2-3-1 as a false nine, and he was absolutely superb for Leverkusen. That was his perfect role, I feel like, in his whole career. So for me, Havertz as a false nine is probably what I'd go for. I don't think in this formation we go for Erling Haaland, but if we want a clinical goal scorer who's going to finish off, Pulisic's driving runs, ZX, whipping in deliveries, Mount's breaking up the lines, then yeah, we go with Erling Haaland. But I'm actually really happy to keep Kai Havertz as a false nine. He can drop in the space. He has height. He has strength. He has the ability to know his positional awareness. So for me, Kai Havertz. But Erling Haaland and Lukaku, you can't really be complaining. They're players who do job, who'll score goals, who'll be our 20+ goal season players. But also, Abraham and Giroud have completely gone out of the equation. Abraham, I still think he could play that role, but I don't know what you guys think. But for me, Havertz, I think he can stay there.
Look, I don't think they make the best Chelsea 11. That's my opinion.
Yeah, neither.
I mean, they can be squad players. And this is the caveat to all the people that are watching. Firstly, 30 strong that are live right now. Thank you so much for joining. Please smash that like button and have a look at my panelists and all their information, social information's in the description below right now. So thank you heaps for that. And just a caveat, guys, this is just the best 11. Obviously, there are squad players and rotational players. So just because we may not have them in this, that doesn't mean they're not in the squad. So 100% they will be in the squad. The only thing I'll do here, and this is, once again, no disrespect to Mason Mount, he's been fantastic. The only thing I would sort of change is probably something like this. And I'll go to Johnathan to see what he thinks, whether he would want this or he'd stick with Mason Mount. Johnathan, well, this is the only change that I would make in regards to making it the best possible 11 for us. What's your thoughts?
Interesting. I'm someone who obviously wants to get Havertz in the team. I just feel like Mason Mount has proved time and time again that he is so instrumental to not only our press, our creativity, being a leader on the pitch. He takes set pieces. There's so many reasons why we need Mount in this side. And again, he's done it for England now. He's, I think, the first player since Frank Lampard to score and assist in 3 consecutive games for England. Little stats like that. I know it's stats and people talk about, oh, he's pressing, he runs around. It's not just that. You need to look at his numbers, and Mount does so many things so well. And I just feel
Thomas Tuchel believes in Mount. He's played Mount a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And when we don't play him, and a bit like in certain situations where we miss like the tempo of Jorginho, his passing, we miss Mount in pressing, in starting the press. And in just his passing, the creativity, the fact that he wants to break the lines, he wants to go forward. And the reason I wouldn't have him as one of the 6s that I think someone mentioned earlier in the chat is because, like with Havertz, like with Werner, you get these players as close as you can to the opposition's goal. Get them in situations where they can hurt the other side. What he did so well in the Liverpool game, he drove, he cut inside and shot. And Mount can do that if you give him the chance to just unleash his attacking ability and not give him so much defensively. So I would put Haaland up top. I would keep Mount in that cam role, and I would move Havertz out instead of Ziyech. But that's just my view. Just because I want to see Havertz, I want to see Ziyech, and I want to see a different striker. So, it's just someone has to lose out, and Ziyech instead of Mount or Havertz just unfortunately loses out. So, yeah, I would keep Mount not at all costs because, that we have so much talent. But if we're going for best 11, Mount gets into our best 11, and so does Havertz. So that's why I think with Ziyech, he does just drop out. And look, Pulisic, if he plays like he did post-lockdown, doesn't have injuries, gets momentum. He played quite well for United States. I think it was last night or the night before. If you allow Pulisic to be the star of the show, if you give him the ball, you give him the license to run at players, and he's done it in the last few games when he's come on. Yeah, he takes the mantle, but it's almost like he has to feel like I'm the guy in this team that has to create. And when he doesn't feel like he's the main guy, he doesn't perform as well, in my opinion. So, he took that mantle on post-lockdown. He's taken the mantle on a few times in the last few games. We just have to show belief in him, and the other players have to feed him the ball, because Pulisic is no good on that pitch if you don't feed him the ball. Mount can do work off the ball. Ziyech just needs one chance to whip a ball in. Haaland just needs one chance. Pulisic has to get into the game to affect it. So yeah, that's kind of the reasons I would keep Pulisic. And yeah, it would obviously Havertz for Ziyech. But other than that, it's a great debate and a great conversation to have with the amount of attacking talent we have.
Nah, absolutely, man. We're keeping Ziyech because it's 2-1. Taron's going with Ziyech, and you know how much I love Ziyech. So Ziyech is staying. He's going nowhere. No one's replacing him. But completely understand, Jonathan, your argument for Havertz. How can Havertz not be in the best 11? But it's difficult when you've got this much talent. But let's lock this team in. This is the 4-2-3-1, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going with. Mendy, Jimenez, Silva, RJ, Chilwell, Zakaria, Kante, Mount, Pulisic, Ziyech, Haaland. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Final formation before we wrap things up. We'll go to Jonathan first up, and we have to talk about this formation. Let me just sort this out first. It will be the 4-3-3, which is, seems to be the most favored formation for everyone. Apparently, it's the most attacking formation. Everyone tends to think that that's a formation that gets the best out of the whole team. Obviously, we don't have the personnel to do that. But Jonathan, firstly, let's set up our best 4-3-3 with the players that we already have, which is going to be very difficult because, let's face it, 4-3-3 with the players that we have not looked good. But if we were to create that, once again, who you go? You're still going to go with Zuma here?
Yeah, in a 4, I'd go with Zuma. But, someone made a good point in the chat. Rudiger has looked good for Germany in the back 4. And he has every time he's played for them. But Germany just exudes so much control and efficiency on the pitch. We don't quite have 11 Germans on the pitch, unfortunately. So we don't have that level of efficiency. So, yeah, I mean, international football is completely different to the Premier League in terms of the intensity, especially in these qualifiers. I don't watch any of the England games unless they're in a tournament, purely because they're pretty dire. The tempo is pretty low. I mean, the last 2 games of England shows that. So yeah, I just feel like Zuma in a 4 is probably or in a 2, sorry, and in a back 4 is best. And obviously, I've talked about Chilwell and RJ, how I feel like they're our best options at left back and right back. And Mendy, again, I'm on the train with Miz. Don't show the disrespect to someone who has made this position his own. So yeah, the back 5 for me sits as it was.
This one, Jonathan, this is it. This is where the conversation's at. Best Chelsea loan DM. I don't think we have one.
We do not have one, so I would almost move that role forward and have a 3, like a fluid 3, like we used to have with Ballack, Lampard, Essien, and have it. Yeah, because I don't like labelling a DM with our current crop of players. I don't like Kante in that role because I don't think he's disciplined enough. I don't like Kante in an 8 because he has to go forward, which I don't like him doing as much. I like him to purely, just have to intercept and to use his energy to help us defensively and move on to the attacking players. And I've talked about Kante a lot about his strengths. So, yeah, I just feel like in this role, maybe Kante in the middle. Yeah, Kante in the middle purely because I don't want him going forward as much. And generally, he's the guy that will sit a little bit more in our midfield right now because we've got a front. We've only got a front 3 now. I think Mount. You're right in that Mount has to stay there, and he can do that. I would say Lampard role that he does do quite well. Again, it limits him a little bit defensively because, attacking in the attacking sense because he's got to do a little bit more defensively. But with this one, I would go with Kovacic because again, he can burst forward, he can defend, he can break the lines, he can start the press as well with Mount. And Kante can be slightly alone at times, but then Zuma or Silva can step out. Chilwell can come across. Reece James can come across and cover for when those midfielders go forward. So yeah, we've got a lot of options. When you've got a midfield that's quite fluid like that, and all 3 of those are very mobile, happy to interchange positions, will do the dirty work as well as get the ball forward to the attacking players. So yeah, that's right now what I would say is if we're going to use a 3, what I would do.
Taron, so far the team, Mendy, Zuma, Silva, Chilwell, RJ, Kovacic, Kante, Mount, I'd probably keep the same as well. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to try and say my opinion now. I'm going to try and convince you guys. So this is probably my most, out there opinion in this stream so far. For me, I understand Kante playing in that kind of Michael Ballack role, the fluid 3, but I know this is an opinion that's not being thrown around. But I actually think Andreas Christensen would be perfect for that DM role. I think that he has the reading of the game really well. He can intercept play. His ball progression is really good. He's really calm and composed on the ball. He's very good at long passing, short passing, keeping control of possession. So for me, I'd keep Christensen in their lone DM role. And then the 2 8s, I'd go with Kante and Mount. I think they both have the energy to cover for maybe the lack of speed and the lack of stamina that Christensen doesn't have. I know this will be a 2-on-1 and Kante will stay in there, but for me, I really want to put up the argument that Christensen can play at the DM role. I honestly strongly believe that he has all the ability to play there, and he hasn't been played there before. I'm sure he will be in the future. Whether Tuchel will experience with that, we have two really creative, high-energy players to cover all the space next to him, and him to sweep up possession.
But
to
this is
be
what
that
you're
next to him in
asking,
the middle.
yeah?
This is what I'm asking. Yeah, I really think that this could work in Tuchel's system. Yeah, Christensen is really composing the ball, and I feel like he is stronger than Jorginho. He is a little bit, I say, he covers ground a little bit more efficiently. So for me, I say Christensen can do Jorginho, but maybe I say a little bit more in Tuchel's system.
Yeah, look, a lot of people have talked about Christensen being the lone DM, but the thing is, he's never done it for Chelsea. That's the thing. I know he's done it for
that's the thing,
Denmark, but he's never ever done it for us. Jonathan, just quickly, someone's put this shout. Ampadu can be a lone DM, and just quickly as well, talk about the Ampadu stuff. But Taron's formation of AC Kante Mount, do you feel that's a shout at all?
Yeah, just to start with Ampadu, I feel like he can play that DM role. He has done in several, he has done for Wales. He has done at times for Chelsea. He's also played as a centre back, but he's looked really good this season in the 3. So whether he could transition to a DM, he has got the passing ability. So I'm not saying he couldn't, but whether Chelsea are going to bring him in if we were to change to this and put all the responsibility on him, I'm not so sure. So certainly an option, squad player, Ampadu, but whether I'd bring him in our first 11 right now, probably not. Andreas Christensen, interesting. Not played like that in maybe 1 or 2 times in a Chelsea shirt. As Taron said, I think he's played in that role, maybe for Denmark, maybe for Mönchengladbach. But again, in our best 11, I get why you'd say it. I think he could be an option if we needed to. There are injuries, but Gilmour can probably play that role even better. But even Gilmour, it's not his best position. So we've got a lot of players that can do it, but is it their strength? So that's why I kind of wanted to go with this midfield 3 that's a little bit more fluid, a little bit more interchangeable. So get your shout, Taron, but denied.
I'd have to deny it as well. I think. Look, it's a fantastic shout. It's a very creative shout, but it's something that I don't know if Tuchel's going to try that, and then I can't really put my hand on my heart and say that is the best 11 right now. In terms of the front 3, so obviously we've gone with a sort of flat 3, more or less. Kante sitting deep. I'll go with Taron this time. Who are you going with the front 3 in this 4-3-3 sort of formation? You're still sticking with Pulisic, Ziyech, and probably Havertz, or you're changing things up with this formation?
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit outlandish again. I'm going to say Timo Werner is probably the best for that striker role in this. We saw against Man City at Stamford Bridge where we got torn apart. Maybe Werner isn't the best at, when we need to release pressure, he can't be the player to hold up play like, Tammy, Giroud, Havertz. But the thing about Tuchel's system is, one thing I picked up on is we play out of possession much better. We seem to be getting in the little pockets with Jorginho cover, then transitioning, counter-attacking quickly. So I'd say Werner is probably the best. Havertz is a notable mention. As a false 9, I don't really think that will work in this formation. Again, Tammy Abraham has looked really good in the 4-3-3 at Chelsea. Early in the season against Newcastle, remember, where he tore apart Lascelles, Fabian Schär, and Kieran Clark. So I think Abraham is a really noble mention for this formation, actually closer than to Havertz for me to Timo Werner. But I have to back Werner. I think that there's a link-up that we've been waiting for as Chelsea fans since we've known that these 3 players are going to be playing for us. Ziyech, Werner and Pulisic. We have the direct dribbling ability of Pulisic, the runs in behind that Ziyech can pick up from Werner, the technical ability of Ziyech. I feel like Pulisic could play that kind of David Neres Promes role, getting that at the back post, Pulisic, and Werner can be that kind of player that can get in behind, tap in the goals, and I feel like he can play that role really well. But Abraham and Havertz are notable mentions. Giroud, he can play in this formation. He's a little bit more isolated, I'd say, when having 3 players behind him. So yeah, I'd say Timo Werner. I know it'll probably get vetoed by you guys, but Timo Werner, I really have a strong opinion that he will get played in this formation and he will be the best player.
You know what? I don't know if I'm going to veto you on that one. I think I would go in this particular formation with what we have right now. Tammy has not been in the mix. That's the thing. That's why I can't put him there at the moment. He's just not been in the mix. And I don't know if Tuchel absolutely, thinks highly of Tammy. He's hooked him off twice at halftime. Jonathan, what's your thoughts with the front 3? Would you change anything around with the best 11 that we have right now?
It's a tough one because, again, I want to get Havertz into this team. Werner, do I rely on him to score every chance on the evidence of this
Just
season?
quickly, I love how us three, Taron wants to put Werner, I want to put Ziyech, and Jonathan wants to put Kai Havertz in. It's classic how we want our best players in. But yeah, go on, Jonathan.
That's the thing. As much as we are balanced, we love talking about Chelsea in a balanced and unbiased way. We do have a slight agenda towards little players. As much as you'd think I'd have Havertz on my shirt. I've actually got Mount, so you can't say haven't got as much of an agenda as the Ziyech and the Werner props from you two. But I feel like Havertz just. I'm not going to get Ziyech out of the team with you two. Definitely not. But I just feel like Havertz has got more movement. He can score goals. He can allow others to go in front of, Pulisic and Ziyech to go in front. So I want to get Havertz into this team. And I just feel like Werner this season, do I rely on him to score goals when we need them? No. Is Pulisic a natural goal scorer? He can do, but he's not an out-and-out goal scorer. He's a 10, 12 goal a season man. And Ziyech isn't going to bang 10 goals a season. So where in this team, if you have Werner, are we going to score goals? Because on a consistent basis this season, he's shown he's not quite there just yet. So I'm not saying he's not going to be there, but Havertz generally, has looked like the player of the two that's going to score goals. And again, Abraham, nothing against Abraham. I love Giroud as well. But this is a side that can play in varying scenarios. And Giroud's a little bit restricted in some scenarios. Werner's very restricted in other ones. Havertz can probably play against most formations and setups. So that's why I would put Havertz there. But Ziyech, again, I want to kind of put Hudson-Odoi or Havertz back there maybe, and then you could put Giroud or Abraham. So there's a lot of options, but...
No, I have to agree. I know Timo Werner, I agreed with Taron with Timo Werner as well, but you've convinced me, Jonathan, in regards to Havertz, because I think Havertz at the end of the day is not a little bit. I think he's far more clinical than Timo Werner. We've seen what he did for Germany in this international break as well. There was that offside goal where first time he hits it and it goes in, but it was given offside. But that was brilliant. So to finish, Taron.
With this favouritism, people are going to start thinking I'm mounting your Lampard. Oh, he's Lampard's son, Mrs.
Taron, you won a few as well. So this one's for Jonathan. But yeah, really nice comment here from Venkatramanan. Havertz could become one of the best strikers. I don't think we need to, but another striker, especially having Tammy and Werner on the bench. Look, guys, I think this particular is the best Chelsea 11 that we could have probably under the 4-3-3 formation. Let's now talk about where we could probably change things up to finish things off. I'll go to you, Jonathan. Once again, obviously, the CB will probably bring in Jimenez here.
Yeah, I would do that. But the rest, I would keep the rest of the back four. Yeah, that midfield looks all right. But again, I would maybe...
This needs a change, bro. I can't have this guy here. He needs to be somewhere there. Or
you can maybe change Kante for Kovacic, and then we can bring Zakaria back in. Maybe Zakaria as that more of a DM, more of a holder of the three, more of an anchor of the three.
What about also Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Jonathan? Does he get a shout, man?
I don't want to get shot on a stream because I know how many people love Loftus-Cheek, but his time at Chelsea, in my opinion, is up. I feel like he will leave, be loaned out again or sold. I just don't, okay, he's doing okay at Fulham. Every time I've watched him though, has he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck?
No, he hasn't.
No,
he hasn't.
And that is, you don't have Loftus-Cheek in a team if he isn't going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. It's the same as Pulisic. If he's not going to, take on players, and you're not going to give him the ball, you're not going to utilise him. And Loftus-Cheek, he's had so many injuries. He's had so many false starts in his Chelsea career. And as much as he has a lot of talent, we've seen it for England as well. And there's a lot of people that I feel like are going off past games and past talents. Right now, does he walk into the Chelsea team or even get in the squad?
Probably doesn't.
Not. It's all about love, and it's what he can be. It's about, he's 26, I think, now. It's not about what he's going to be in the future. So what can he do right now? In my opinion, he's going to leave Chelsea at the end of the season or the end of next season, whether it be on loan, be sold. Unfortunately, I just can't see a future there because he hasn't done it well enough at other teams. Palace on loan, Fulham on loan. He's done well, But we're looking to dominate the English Premier League, the Champions League, and we can't have a player that has not fulfilled his potential at 26. And again,
I do want to say one thing though, Jonathan.
Yeah.
This is not Kante's best position. That's the issue.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And almost that would switch to not a diamond, but you could put Zakaria and Mount a little bit closer together and have Mount slightly in front of them, I think, when we're not on the ball, when we're transitioning. So almost, you have them two that kind of work together as the anchor. Like let's say Mikel and Essien, I'd say that from past. I know I'm talking about previous Chelsea players, but I'm trying to give an understanding to the viewers of what the traits that these players could bring. Mount could maybe then sit a little bit more in front. Kante can join attacks, but again, his strength are defensively. So if you're going to play this kind of situation or this kind of formation, I don't see why Zakaria and Kante sitting a little bit deeper with Mount in front of them wouldn't work. Kante's a luxury we don't need. Oh, interesting. I feel like we need a one that's going to sweep it up, though.
I honestly get that. And in a 4-3-3, and this is the thing, for me, Kante is a double pivot player, man.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to get hurt a lot here from live chat maybe, or even down the track, the comments. But if it's a 4-3-3 like this, Mount, obviously he loves, he said that he's an attacking air. He loves playing as an 8. Unfortunately, Kante doesn't make this team if it's like this. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about upgrading it now. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, previously we've shown you guys what the best 11 is with the players that we have. But if it's a 4-3-3 formation, I want to get Taron's thoughts as well. Taron,
just
for me,
just quickly, 1 second.
Yeah, go on, Jonathan.
We're talking about best 11. Kante is one of the best players in the world in this position. So in terms of best players at Chelsea, Kante is in the top 3, really, for what he does. That's why I want to sneak him in and get him in the side. So I completely get that. And sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to get that off my chest because he's so good on his day. And he's our best player when he's on song, which is why you play your best players, in my opinion. But I'm interested to see what Taron says.
Yeah, 100% agree, Jonathan, that if we're looking at best 11 right now, Kante undoubtedly is one of our best players. If we're looking at upgrading as well, Kante has to stay in that sort of conversation as well. I just feel that in this formation, I wasn't too convinced when we played with under Frank Lampard and Kante. Yeah. I just feel like Kante is far more suited like this. Do you know what I mean? Like he's more suited in that sort of fashion.
Yeah, I do get that.
But Taron, what's your thoughts, man?
Okay, this is kind of my thoughts. Zakaria, I do agree with. I haven't seen him play in a lone 6 role for Mönchengladbach. He's usually alongside Florian Neuhaus or Christoph Kramer. But Zakaria, we've seen Pierre-Emile Højbjerg come in while they're playing with James Ward-Prowse Southampton. He's done a great job. So in terms of Zakaria, I have no doubts. It's really on that left centre mid role because the 4-3-3, in my opinion, whether you say formations are not different on the pitch, it's all kind of the same thing. For me, I don't think Kante is creative enough to play that role. I think he has the energy to. Maurizio Sarri really transformed this game, but for me, Kante doesn't really start in the system, even though he is world class. He is a pivot player, as you mentioned. Mateo Kovacic in this system, I really was not impressed by Kovacic in a 4-3-3, in a more expansive system, as we saw under Lampard. The best thing I probably saw him do was that Sheffield run where he brought back to Abraham. Apart from that, he doesn't really see suits a more closer 4-3 system like Maurizio Sarri's or Jorginho, Kova, Loftus-Cheek, Barkley. They're all quite close to each other, compact. But for me, in that expansive system, Kovacic doesn't get in. For me, one player that we could bring in that could, I feel like, transform the game is Frank-Yannick Kessié. I feel like he's an attacking 8. He's not attacking 8, sorry. He's the
AC Milan player, huh?
Yeah, AC Milan player. Kessié, he was absolutely amazing playing in that role against Man United. He's not a lone DM. He's not a holding DM. He's a box-to-box player who I feel like provides more than Kante in that attacking third. And his energy, his defensive work rate, I feel like he is more sustainable. I don't think he's had any serious injuries in his career. But yeah, that is a really notable mention. Ross Barkley on loan, I feel like we are going to sell him to Villa. Loftus-Cheek, again, I'm really favoured to Loftus-Cheek after the way he played in the Sarri. But again, that's a more compact system where the sentiments are like really close in a triangle to each other. But in a more expansive system, Kessié, I feel like you can't look past Kessié. He's a player that should be in there. I think he's better in the final third. So for me, that midfield 3 is going places, in my opinion. They're 3 amazing players. Mount is, obviously, I can't say enough good things about Mount. In the attacking 8 role, that's where we've seen the best of Mount dropping in between the lines, creating everything with his long range of passing. And yeah, that midfield 3 is absolutely amazing, in my opinion, Miz.
Yeah, no, I like that shout as well. There's been a lot of talks about Kessie, off the bat, not just before he played against Man United. There's been some talks that he's a very, very good player, and obviously what he did against Man United showcased that as well. I'm happy to lock that in. Johnathan, front three, we keeping it, or you changing anything in this formation?
Yeah, I just feel like if we're going to upgrade again, I'm talking about getting our best players on the pitch, and obviously Havertz is one of them. And obviously, if we can bring in Haaland or Lukaku, they're going to walk into this team. They're going to walk into most teams. So I would switch, in my opinion, Havertz, bring him back instead of Ziyech, and then Haaland up top.
Fair point.
In this formation. I know we're going to get our answers at the end for which is our favourite formation, but the point I've been trying to make throughout is get a system that suits as many of your best players as possible. And your best players right now at the club, you look at Mount, you look at Kante, you look at Pulisic, you look at Havertz, look at Reece James. Even Hudson-Odoi hasn't been consistent enough, but he's one of our potential stars of the future. So we want to get a system that fits as many of these players as possible and implement it. So I will give obviously the opinion at the end. We're just finding reasons why this doesn't really work. This system, as much as it is good, and I like the fact that it's four at the back. Haaland and sorry to digress, but Haaland up top and Havertz and Pulisic behind.
No, I'm happy to take Ziyech off in this scenario, and bring back Haaland and Havertz just behind, and Pulisic obviously that directness. So, Taron, you happy to keep this, or you change anything up front?
Yeah, for me, I don't like Havertz in that right forward role. For Germany, with Serge Gnabry and what's his name? I forgot his name. The left winger, Leroy Sané. That's it. For them three, I really like that fluid front three. But for me, I don't prefer Havertz in the right forward role in this system. I definitely go for Ziyech in the right winger role. We've seen the best of him, drifting all over the place, being that free roam role. And I'm sorry, Pri, about your comments. Hopefully, other formations have been okay. But Ziyech, you can't.
He's disappointed with me because I didn't have Jorginho.
It's a Jorginho, but again, Jorginho system player. Yeah, sorry.
Jorginho, back to Jorginho. I don't think he's assistant player. But for me, Ziyech starts in the right wing back and the right wing role. Sorry, on the left, I'll stick with Christian Pulisic. Again, on his game, he's unplayable. And up front, you can't go wrong with Erling Haaland as your striker. Finishing off if you can imagine Ziyech, just in your head quickly, guys, he's whipping that balls into Erling Haaland, linking up with Haaland with his free roam ability, Pulisic driving, opening up the space for Ziyech and Haaland. That front three and that midfield and that back four, this team is going to do bits if it is our team for us. You can't go wrong in any of these positions. Yeah. It's just the perfect balance, I feel. You have Kessie and Mount, provide the energy, the end product. You have Ziyech, who can whip the balls in, who can change the game by the scruff of the neck. We have Pulisic, who can drive, and Haaland to finish off the chances that Pulisic and Ziyech create. So you can't go wrong with this team. It's maybe Reece James a bit more development in that area. He'll get used to that role a little bit more in the future. But apart from that, this team will win titles in Champions League. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah, look, for me, and once again, Johnathan won a few before. Taron, you've won a few, and I think I'll stick with Ziyech in this instance because I feel like Havertz that's not the spot for Havertz. That's not the area for Havertz.
I do get that.
And that's the only reason why I can't have him there. I know I need to have him in the team, but not he, because it's either he or it's either he. So for me, that's where Havertz comes in. Boys, let's now slowly wrap things up. We've looked at the three formations. I think we've talked about the three at the back where we needed the wing backs to upgrade and obviously Haaland. The 4-2-3-1 was the one where we had the least amount of changes. It was just the one other DM and not even a striker. We didn't even think about putting Haaland because we were happy with the attacking powers that we had up front. So And obviously 4-3-3 looks like a complete renovation. Do you know what I mean? Like Zakaria, Kessie, there's a lot of players. Jimenez.
It's a house with no kitchen and bathroom, isn't it? Really?
It's a lot of. So I feel like, boys, it may be the three at the back that Tuchel might continue, and we may just change maybe a DM or maybe a wing back. But then again, there are still few changes that But it's that 4-2-3-1, which I feel like Tuchel might give it a shot next season, because it only needs a DM really to change things up. It's not really missing anything else. It's just missing a solid DM. What's your thoughts? I'll go to you, Jonathan, first up. Out of all the formations that we've done so far, which one's the one that you sort of thinking is something that could work next season?
4-2-3-1, 100%. It gets more attacking ability on the pitch, allows us to get more in and around the box, more chances, more goals, because that's what we're missing a little bit under Tuchel. We've got all the control, all the possession. We look confident. We look very compact. We're controlling games. We are scoring goals. We're keeping clean sheets. But we are missing that killer instinct, the goal scorer, which is what we need in Haaland or Lukaku. And we're just missing more players higher up the pitch in the final third. So that's what a 4-2-3-1 does. Gets more attacking players onto the pitch. Obviously, as someone that prefers attacking formations, style, systems, it's obviously something that I enjoy. But again, I'll go back to my point of the 4-2-3-1 meant that our best players were on the pitch. And that is what you want to do in an 11. You want to get your best players on the pitch. And Matthew Lee Benjamin's made an interesting point on the chat. What if we win the Champions League and the FA Cup this season in a back three? It still wouldn't change my mind, because I feel like these players will have an expiry in this formation and in this system.
Yeah.
Lukaku's got a shelf life. Rudiger's got a shelf life in that role. There will be mistakes that will creep in. We need to replace Silva, and Silva's a massive cog in that back three. Alonso, again, there's so many holes in his games that teams will find out about. Conte was great at a back three, and he does it so well in his career, but Tuchel is a man that likes to change formations. I can't see him sticking to this one because it doesn't utilise the team that we are wanting to build. Abramovich as an attacking owner, it's not going to happen, in my opinion. It may completely stump me. There's been loads of articles and loads of talk about why change the back three that's working. But if we want to dominate football with Tuchel, we need to score more goals, and we need to take and create more chances. And that's what these other
don't have too many attacking players just in the bench. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, it's great to have, if we had 5 subs in the Premier League this season, it wouldn't be as bad. But we are not getting enough players in and around the box. And I've highlighted on so many occasions where we just need someone to be in and around and break the lines and take players on. So, look, there's many reasons why 3 at the back is great. But is it a long-term formation? I can't see it. There's only a few managers in the history of football that have really been successful with the 3 at the back. Conte, obviously, being one of them. So I can't see it, especially in the Premier League. It's not, a formation that, other than, a couple of managers that ever, had longevity with and ever had a lot of success with, because there is a lot of holes in it. So, yeah, it's good, but 4-2-3-1 for me.
Yeah, 4-2-3-1 probably is the more sort of reasonable argument here. Taron, letting you finish things off here. What's your thoughts on the formations?
Yeah, for me, if we win the Champions League next season, I don't think it will have a big impact. Obviously, that would be amazing for our club. But the main thing for me is that we have a whole pre-season to kind of, without the Euros, take that out of the equation for a bit. We have kind of the whole pre-season to kind of build with a new formation, get Tuchel working with these players how he wants to be. I kind of see the 3 at the back as a kind of stopgap. We've seen a lot of players who have favoured this formation: Rudiger, Christensen, Timo Werner in that left and third forward role, Kovacic and Jorginho, Kovacic and Kante the pivot. But for me, the main factor about this formation, if we do change to it, is getting a DM in who can, control the play, who can do everything, who can be that pivot, who can drop in and also progress the ball and have the defensive solidity. So that's the main factor. If you sign a Zakaria, Rice, Marquinhos, any of these players, I'll be really confident of it. Yeah, we have more players in the forward lines, as we like to say. We have 3 attacking players and 1 striker. We've seen under Tuchel so far maybe haven't been so good in the final third, maybe due to a lack of attackers. So I'd say that, this is perfect. No disrespect to the 3 at the back. I think it's a great formation and it's working really well at the minute. We're unbeaten in 14 games. But for the future and to be more sustainable, I'm going with the 4-2-3-1. And I think that this team right in front of our eyes is going to carry Chelsea back to the glory days and where we belong.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. This is the final sort of thoughts that all of us have had, and this is the team that we want to see probably next season. Or I kind of think that this is the best that could happen next season in terms of being realistic, I suppose. Just quickly, do appreciate, man. You know, I love the way how you always come to my channel. Miz, don't ignore my comments. I'm such a loyal viewer of yours. 100% not ignoring your comments. It's very difficult at times to make sure the conversation is flowing and also ensure that it's going in the right way. And incorporating the right comments to fit in. There's sometimes people just arguing in the comments and just not. I don't think it's appropriate to bring those sort of comments in. So I hope you guys understand that. I've had a few people actually say, "Oh, please share my comments, please share." Look, I really want to show all of and every one of you guys all your comments, but at the same time, I just need to sometimes concentrate as to where the whole conversation is going, or else I'll just be, completely off track. But yeah, Bree, look, man, thank you heaps for all the time that you give to this channel. Not just Bree, to every single one of you guys. Matthew, we've got Venkatraman, then we've Maldini's middle finger, all the sort of usuals that have been here all the time. Thank you so much, guys. As that pretty much wraps us up, it's been a long stream. Generally, we don't do it this long, but the topic kind of sort of demanded it. So before I go, please smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification. I'm not sure if I will have a stream tomorrow. I could just have a normal sort of Chelsea news video. I'm not really sure because international breaks is too boring, man. Not really much to talk about. And I've talked about almost everything right now. So do look out for if something does come up. And for my panelists, guys, please check out their socials information in the description right now. Please go out there and follow them in social media, Twitter, podcast, YouTube, you name it. It's all there, guys. Until next time, everyone, take care and see ya.